this is Ryuki's first fight post-training time skip that we had here. And I would say for fighting someone who is probably in the top 10 strongest in the verse right now, I think it's pretty safe to say that Raian is probably ahead of Oma when it comes to principles, mainly because he started the training for principles much earlier, the first time he lost to the Westwood faction with Gilbert and all of them, and he's come back to challenge Gilbert, and so he's confident that he can win. And I think he showcased against William, someone who is probably in the third strongest character in the series, able to completely control the type of power that he had, is further proof of this, right? It rarely gets any bigger and badder than Raian, is what I'm trying to point at here. And Ryuki has done very good in my opinion. But let's actually get into the chapter itself, which was pretty short, mainly because it's very action dense, so I will be talking for a while. And it is called Rising Dragon Touch of Death. Very cool chapter, and that's mainly because of what we see happen in this chapter. But it starts off with Raian attacking Ryuki with an open palm strike directed at his face, but Ryuki has blocked this attack. But either way, it sends him reeling back a bit, or it pushes him back. And Raian, he follows up with that attack with a very wide and powerful right hand strike. It looks like a hook, but there is little to no form here. And that goes to show that, Raian sees Ryuki as an opponent where he can have less form around him, right? He's not too worried that Ryuki is going to capitalize on the openings he is clearly providing him. And Ryuki, he takes note of that. His strikes are, as he says, monotonous, wide attacks, things that would be punishable if Raian was an equal. But considering the wide gap between him and Ryuki, Raian isn't really worried here. But Ryuki wants to use that to his advantage. He wants to use the fact that Ryuki is being a bit more callous with him to actually get something off on him. And Ryuki is a lethal fighter. We have to remember that, because we actually start to see one of the reasons why, and this is obvious, right? He starts using the Koi style, and he uses it on the feet to sort of kick up dust or rocks towards Raian's eyes here. It is the Koi style. Rakusha's Soul is the name of the move, and right as it seems like rocks are about to go straight into Raian's eyes, Raian dodges it. So even though Raian has his openings, he is swinging pretty wildly, his guard is still up, and it's always been up since the beginning of this, right? And further proof of this is that we see Ryuki taking advantage as Raian is sort of ducking away from the little rocks of coming towards his face. He sort of ducks to his right. Ryuki tries to follow up with a kick from his right side, so to the side he is dodging, right? Goes for a kick, but Raian, he catches up and he ducks low at this point, which sends Ryuki basically swinging over Raian. But Ryuki uses that momentum, and he uses that momentum to sort of jump up, spin to the air, and hit Raian with, of course, the Gaio style air rendering. So this is kinda similar to what we saw Setsuna do against Nico. Nico fans getting hit with that PTSD because it worked on Nico. Although he had a combination of the Koi style as well, which actually had a critical hit on Nico. So if you use this type of technique the right way, it can work against people who are even worm heads. But then the unthinkable happens, and this is the big Aura Farm moment for Raian, and probably his most impressive showcase in this chapter. Koga is like, what the? And what Raian has done here, while Ryuki was spinning around and launched his air rendering kick, he caught his leg mid-air, mid-spin, and launched an attack with his left hand straight into Ryuki's chest. So there's this panel of Raian with brute strength alone holding up Ryuki and punching him at the same time in his leg, and it is an incredible feat of strength, but also of raw reaction because of the things that happened back to back here. Like, this man had basically planned for 3 moves, and Raian was still further ahead than him by raw reaction. But we see, yeah, Raian's left-handed fist that's in Ryuki's chest, it's caused a lot of pain for Ryuki. And there's sort of this follow-through that Raian does where it sends Ryuki flying back. Even though it was, close range at this point, it seems like it's like a double hit effect. Raian goes flying into a wall somewhere and he hits it, and it seems like that would normally be it. It's time to go home. It's time to throw in the towel. It's time to lay down, basically. And Ryuki, he's like, nah, not yet. He's still trying to he still has hope. He still has a plan, and he uses the Koei style again, the exact same move he used the first time, Rakusha's Soul. But it is actually to dodge Raian's kick that he was following up with, a soccer kick. That's what he was trying to do here. And then we see Raian, he sort of starts, shouting. He's like, show me what you got, you little shit. He's ready to see the sauce. He's like, where's the sauce, Ryuki? And we have this moment where Raian sort of goes for a hammer fist, charging in at Ryuki, same old wide angles, there are sort of openings there, but this is still Raian. His reaction speed is insane, established in this chapter. His reaction speed is insane. Could be a combination of pre-initiative as well, but that would be very interesting because of what we see next. Because as he's going through with the hammer fist, Ryuki is coming in and it seems like he's using, the Koei style Rakusha's Soul, because he's swirling around as he's going towards Raian. And we then see a sort of fade to gray or a darker tone, and we see this light right near Raian's chest, and Ryuki's like, there it is. And it seems like that's an opening, which is very interesting that Ryuki can now see openings like that. I wonder if it is kind of like how Raian said he could see the principles or something like that. I don't know if, at least off the top of my head, if there's any other character in Kengan Omega where their specialty is seeing weak points, basically. But that's very interesting. And Ryuki, he just goes for that spot, and as he goes for that spot, he starts using the long clan style, and the name of this move is the name of the chapter, Rising Dragon Touch of Death. It sounds like a finishing move, it sounds badass, and we see this amazing just page panel of an impact that is happening on both sides here. Just great art for this chapter. But then we see Ryuki and Raian. And Raian is saying, hey, he'll admit at this point, after seeing that technique, he says, hey, you were trash before, but you're less trash today. That's as far as Raian will say, alright kid, you did good, right? But what was the result of that clash? As you can see on the panel, I'll have the drafts up. Ryuki managed to actually strike Raian in his chest, so Raian could not react fast enough to the Rising Dragon Touch of Death. And what's interesting here, especially if you think he used pre-initiative, that's a very big feat. But Raian has also managed to land a chop right near either Ryuki's neck or shoulder blade. So it's a double tag here, right? And with that, Ryuki goes down basically, and Raian's like, alright, next in line. And Ryuki's surprised that, man, I just used that move and he doesn't look tired. Now, it could be an indication of endurance, but I think principles that is at work here, mainly because we've seen this before. We've seen with Oma the increased stamina that they get. They can basically take more attacks and can fight for longer periods of time. Remember, Oma was fighting wrestlers and gassing them out. People built for endurance, gassing them out, kind of out-tanking them, with his little principles trick. And we see Raian sort of showcasing the exact same, red flags here. But Ryuki's like, hey, Raian, absolutely one of the strongest fighters in the world. Giving the man his flowers, he's like, man, this man's at the top of the table. But as Raian is turning around, right, Koga lands a direct shot at Raian's face with, of course, the Nico style iron breaker. Now, what's very interesting about this is how this is even possible, because I think there's a few things going on here. Because as we've seen earlier in this chapter, Raian was able to react to almost everything. Up until this point, Raian's guard has not necessarily been broken, and it's kinda true now, but Koga was a lot closer to hitting him. So I'm thinking either a few of the things or all of the things that I am thinking of are actually happening here. The first one is that, of course, Koga using the fist eye, we saw his showcase against Yumigahama. He can basically activate this ability that basically allows him to do, basically guaranteeing his hits on the enemy, right? Moving before his opponent can move, basically countering your opponent before they actually do what they do. Something like that. I have my doubts that's what's going on. The second is that because of Ryuki's attack, the Rising Dragon Touch of Death, I think Raian, he might not physically be showing it, but it actually might have actually done something to Raian, because he doesn't approach Koga in the same way. Because after the attack, Raian sort of follows up with his own strike, and we see here that, of course, when I said Koga landed an attack on Raian, that wasn't necessarily true. Raian managed to deflect that punch. Basically, as it landed, he sort of moved as well. But Ryuki's like, Koga sort of threw it with perfect timing. But hey, even with that, Raian's guard is still, or his reaction speed is as good as ever. And Ryuki, Koga is like, bro, you got eyes on the back of your head or something? But Raian's like, hey, looks like I'm gonna have more fun with you than I thought. And he says, hey, Koga, you're in luck. I'm gonna take off the training wheels. So he won't approach Koga like he did with Ryuki. This could do good for Koga's portrayal here. Koga's perceived, at least by Raian, as a greater threat, or at least performing better than Ryuki. I don't necessarily think that's what's going on here. I think Ryuki's performance and possibly the damage of his technique has turned Raian around with his attitude towards Koga, because he knows they're pretty much peers in strength. So he probably can't afford to make similar types of mistakes with Koga, who's been watching this the entire time. And so it'll be very interesting to see how Koga deals with the entire situation. And yeah, it was a very good chapter overall. The art was pretty good. The action was quite intense. Very few good nuggets here in terms of the action. I liked Ryuki's ingenuity and his showcase, that he's got a lot more techniques and he's combining them more fluidly, you could say. Very good. And can't wait to see how Koga does against people that are essentially at the top of the verse right now. But yeah, that's the video. Don't forget to like and sub, and until next time, take it easy.